Hey everyone, it's Mark from MSD Defense. Today's video is going to be of the field stripping, cleaning, and reassembly of the Sig P365 X-Macro. This has been my carry gun for about a year now, and after a few thousand rounds, I've noticed a few things that need a little extra attention, so let's get to cleaning. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and field strip the X-Macro. Obviously you want to unload your weapon first. I don't have any ammunition at all in my workspace. For safety purposes. This is my everyday carry, so you will notice there are a few things different obviously from when you first buy it. I have a tactical light. I have this piece here on the side is called a pro ledge or gas pedal. I have a optic on, which is my holosun, and the back strap is an aftermarket one. It's a little larger, which fits my hand better. But internally it's the same. It's going to come apart the same. We're still going to clean it the same way. So again, the first thing, make sure it is unloaded. What you need to do first is you need to lock the slide to the rear, and the way you do that is as you bring the slide all the way to the rear, you have to push up on this little bar here, which is your slide stop, to lock it into place. Now I have seen people at the range when they're manipulating it, because they have a sight on, they're afraid to come up and pull on it from the top. I've seen people grab it from the back and try pulling it. The problem I see with that is that you're pulling up more and you're not really having total positive control of the weapon, and some people have a tendency to squeeze and their finger goes into the trigger, which is not a good habit, and it's hard to pull it back from here and press the slide lock up. So the easiest way I've found is to come across the top, which also avoids me ever putting my hand in front of the muzzle. I'll come across the top, I'll just grab it, and I'll bring it to the rear while pushing up on the bar with my other thumb, and I've locked it to the rear. It's that simple. If you bring it back and you don't do it far enough, or you're doing it too slow and then you have to come forward and so forth, that's fine. Just bring it back with some force, lock it to the rear, you're good to go. Next thing you need to do, this is your takedown lever. It has to come down clockwise. So you could, any way you could do it with this thumb, you could do it with this thumb, whatever works for you. I usually come across the top with my primary hand because it is my strong hand, and I push it down and forward, and now it's down. Sometimes you'll find it'll pop back up. That's okay, just push it back down. The next thing you need to do is you need to bring your slide forward, but you want to do it under control so it doesn't just come popping forward. So what I do is I come across the top again. I'm going to bring the slide back just a little, and then I'm going to push down and release my slide release. And I'm just going to ease it forward. And you see if I let it go, it just sits in place almost exactly where it was. So once you bring it forward, you can just continue going forward and it'll slide forward and off. And I'll have it broken down into these two pieces. I'll take the lower half, put it off to the side. I'll flip it over. And here you have your recoil, spring, and barrel. Those are the only other two things that are coming out. To take the spring out, you just want to push it forward a little bit and up so it comes off the lip. And then you can just pull it out, and the barrel you can just lift out. Kind of work it out, and it'll work out and come out. And that's it. Now I've got it disassembled. This is kind of what I end up with when I'm done. That's all you have to do. Now I have a tactical light. I will remove the tactical light just so I can get underneath there and clean it all out. It just comes off with a screw. That's pretty simple, so I'm not going to do that for this video. So these are my pieces. So I'll clean everything like I do. You know, everybody uses different solvents. I use Hoppy solvent. I've used Shooter's Choice. Another one I use also is called Shooter Lube. That's this bottle here. You'll see it's a red bottle, and it's pretty good. It comes with oils too to use. So what I'll do here is I'll make sure I get all inside, wipe everything down, clean it out. You also want to ensure you get down where the magazine sits in the magazine well, and where your magazine release button is here. If you look inside, you'll see that it kind of sits recessed on the one side, and it does get carbon buildup, so make sure you get in there and you do the good cleaning and wipe down. On the slide, I have noticed, because the barrel actually sits back about a half an inch from the end of the slide, because it does have the cutouts for the built-in compensator, you get a lot of buildup at the end here. So what I'll do is I'll take these nylon picks and I'll actually scrape in here. These don't damage anything, but you'll see that stuff will come flaking out. You want to get into the grooves up here where it's cut, all along the sides and underneath, and of course hit everything with solvent. I've got different brushes to use. I've got these little brushes, I got these brushes. You want to do the full cleaning. Another area you want to pay special attention to, I've noticed gets really bad, is underneath your extractor. So what I've found that works best for that is I take the brush, the small end, put some solvent on it, scrub it underneath, and then to get underneath there really good, I have found that pipe cleaners work great, and these work great for a number of things. I'll just take one, fold it so it's just a little more stiff, and I'll just go back and forth underneath the extractor and get everything out of there. You know, clean the face, you know, all the little crevices, obviously. You want to do that. You also, with your spring, you want to make sure it's clean, and the pipe cleaners, again, work great for that. You just put them in between the little spring there, and you can just rotate it back and forth, and it'll clean out everything, and this can be all cleaned up and dry as well. You know, that's pretty much what I do on that. The end of the barrel will also get very dirty. Again, the nylon picks come in handy, and you can literally scrape along the front, and you'll see pieces of carbon and soot will just come flaking off. I like using these first, and then the brush to get them clean. Other than that, you know, it's the basic cleaning. I've heard some people complain about rust. I do live in Texas. I'm in North Texas, so I'm not super humid in the summer. I haven't had any rust problems, but what I like to do is make sure once everything's back and I'm ready to put it back together, I'll wipe the slide down with Hoppy's No. 9 silicone cloth, and then I'll take a cleaning pad and wipe the excess off, and you'll see it'll actually get into the pores of the metal and it'll clean it up. I've never had any rust issues. Again, everybody lives in different environments and exposes their weapons to different things. I haven't had a problem yet. Hopefully I don't, but that's one way that you can kind of make sure everything stays clean, is you use the silicone cloth. So once you get everything done, you're going to apply your oil. People use different oils. I use typically the Hoppy's No. 9 gun oil, and what I'll do is I'll take one of my Q-tips. I've got these big Q-tips that I use, double-sided, and I'll actually put the oil on the Q-tip, and then I'll put it along, you know, any place that rubs along the slide. You can see where it's worn inside. I'll put a little in here. You can put a drop in your little barrel lugs right here, and you can put a little obviously in here. Anytime you have questions about where to oil or how much to oil, you know, you could refer to your owner's manual, obviously, and that gives you really good information what to do. But these are just some of the little things I do. Also, sometimes when I'm cleaning it, I've also have a little cover for my sight, and that's just so I don't bang into it with a brush. That helps. And that's it. So when you're ready to reassemble it, you've got all your parts clean, you're good to go. Now I'm going to put it back together. So the first thing I'll do is I'll reinstall the barrel, which again just goes in forward. Your lugs are up, right? Because when you look at it, you'll see the flat side on the top. The thing with your recoil spring is that this can go in backwards. I had a friend of mine who had bought the Sig, and the first time he took it apart, he actually put the spring in backwards, and so he brought it over and it was kind of jammed halfway on this, with the slide, and we were able to get it off. But you just got to remember the round side goes back, right? It's got a little rectangle on the front that goes towards the front of the gun. You'll just push it in, and the round part will actually sit on this little lip in the barrel, which you'll see, and it just sits there and you're done. Then all you need to do now is take your lower, line up the slots. I'll flip it around, and sometimes the slide will get stuck. There'll be a little piece in here sticking up from the inside. all you have to do is push it down. You'll see it. It's not down. Also, sometimes when you bring the slide all the way back, because you have to bring it back and lock it in place again, your takedown lever sometimes flips up. Mine seems to do it more now than it did when I first bought it, maybe just because it's worn. But that's not a problem. That's okay if it does it. So again, I'm going to come across the top. I'm going to push it back like I did before and push the slide lock up. And you can see my takedown lever flipped up by itself. If it doesn't, just push it up. Okay, and that's it. And you're done. Everything's clean, everything looks good. I'll rack it a few times to get the oil to kind of spread out along the slide. The only other thing I would suggest you do if you do have an optic is to recheck the screws to make sure they're tight. I had a sight on another handgun of mine, my Hellcat Pro. It was a different sight, not a Holosun. It was actually a Sig sight, and I went to shoot it, and it had been sitting a while, and I was all over the place. And then I noticed one of the screws had come loose, so the sight was shifting. So what I did is I went out and I got one of these little wrenches, a little Wheeler torque wrench. And so every time I go out, every once in a while, especially if say the gun's just been sitting, I'll go through and I'll always make sure that I check the torque specs and tighten it up. You can look in your manual, every one is a little different, but I'll test it and make sure it's secure. Obviously when you put the screws in, and this will all be in the manual, they talk about thread locker, right, Loctite, so put a little drop of that on. That does help, obviously. You want to clean your sight if you do have one. I use these little pre-moistened lens wipes. They don't scratch the sight and they clean it up really well. And also, if you have a tactical light, make sure you clean the front of the light because it'll get dirty as well. And that is it. That's how I clean it, put it back together, and I am ready to go shooting again. Very basic, obviously, that you could take out more parts if you feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable doing something, you know, look at the manual, ask somebody who is familiar with firearms to help you, because you want to be comfortable, and most importantly, you want to be safe. But that's how I do it. I do clean it every time and keep it in good shape. I want to thank everyone for watching the video today. I hope it was helpful. If you want to learn more about us, you can go to msddefense.com. So until next time, stay safe, keep your powder dry, and I'll see you out at the range.